I have already introduced several accounting and invoicing programs on this channel, and I often receive the comment, I don't want to pay monthly for my software, I want to buy it once and then that should be enough. To address this, I have explored various options, and that's why I went on a search and looked around. With which software is that actually possible? And there are actually not that many software solutions left that you can seriously just buy without having to pay monthly license fees. And I found a software that I find quite interesting and would like to introduce to you in this video. EasyFirma comes from Austria, and with that, greetings to the Austrian viewers on this channel, because I often receive the comment that I should do something for the Austrian market. But the software is not only for the Austrian market, you can also use it in Germany to, for example, write your invoices, and starting from 2025 also write your e-invoices and process the e-invoice. This means that if you receive an e-invoice that you cannot read, you can import it into EasyFirma, read it accordingly, and further process it. And the exciting thing about EasyFirma is that you purchase this software once. You can download it and then install it on your computer and work with it locally. This means you have no monthly costs and you are not working in the cloud, because this is a point that many freelancers also mention. Es tar zum die wisst ihr TV, was halt's ab. They would like to have their accounting and invoices locally on their computer and not in the cloud. Yeah? And I don't want to discuss the pros and cons of cloud versus computer, but if you want to do it this way, then just find the appropriate software. And EasyFirma could be the right software for that. A very important note and limitation at this point. The local version is only available for Windows. This means if you are working with an Apple device, you cannot do that. Install locally. But you can still use EasyFirma as an online version, of course, even if you have a Windows computer, because the cloud solution, the online solution, you operate through the browser. And of course, you can also simply access the website on your Windows computer and write your invoices there. An exciting point, and in my opinion, also a major advantage of EasyFirma, is the range of features. You can really accomplish many tasks in your self-employment with EasyFirma, far more than with a simple invoicing program. But, and this is very important to know before you dive right in and start working with this software, it is not an accounting program. You can pre-categorize expenses and income. However, you do not get the classic evaluation in this form, such as a profit and loss statement or a balance sheet. For that, you always need additional software. You can always export the data from EasyFirma to Excel and, for example, continue working there or import it elsewhere. And you can actually also use a data interface to provide your tax advisor with the data of your expenses and income, who can then, of course, create an annual financial statement from it. But EasyFirma is not a complete accounting program. It is primarily an invoicing program, or because calling it an invoicing program doesn't do it justice, more of an office management software for freelancers, particularly for small freelancers, for example, also for craft businesses or companies engaged in trade. And with this introduction, let's switch over to my screen and we'll take a look at EasyFirma together. We are here in the EasyFirma dashboard. This means that once you have downloaded EasyFirma and installed it on your Windows computer, this screen will open. And we are currently in the standard version. The screen is somewhat split into two parts. On one side, we see the functions. So what can I do with it right now? For example, I can write quotes. You can see here, for instance, there are currently 7 quotes that I have sent. And I can write invoices. Here too, you can see I have currently written 37 invoices. I can manage my customers, meaning I can set up all my business partners here once. And when I then write an invoice, I can simply select them via a drop-down. And then it automatically fills in the information about my business partners, about my customers in the invoice. I can do the same with the products, and of course I can view reports. How much revenue have I generated? By the way, we see a short version of the report here on the right side of the screen. Here we see an overview of the revenue. I can click on the respective years in which there were any business transactions. I can now look at the offers. I can look at the invoices, for example. I can also filter by what is currently open with the invoices, what is due, what has already been paid, what might have already been journaled, and so on. This means I quickly get an overview of how my self-employment is doing. It is ordered. But this is only the standard version. There is also a premium version and an ultimate version. With the premium version, there are a few additional features. And, which I personally find quite exciting, I can write my business letters through this. This means I already have invoice templates here and, in a way, my letterhead. So I can also write my letters through this. Because especially when you are dealing with authorities like the municipality, the Chamber of Commerce, the tax office, and so on, a letter is often necessary. And you can here actually write your business letters through EasyFirma, specifically in the premium version. Additionally, you have the option to create order confirmations. You can create delivery notes and also credit notes. In the ultimate version, you have a few additional features. Specifically, in EasyFirma, you have something like an inventory management system. This means you also have orders included here, and you can manage your goods receipt. So when you purchase products, you can record the goods receipt here. You have an overview of open orders. You have a whole range of additional evaluations, specifically income and expense analyses. You can store contracts and send reminders. This means with the ultimate function, you really have a comprehensive office management software. In addition to all the functions related to invoicing, writing offers, delivery notes, inventory management system, etc. You can also, for example, record your times with EasyFirma, but that is not mandatory. Everything. So there are additional modules that you can book separately. I'll link all these modules and packages below in the video description. Feel free to take a look at it at your leisure. Then you can also consider which functions are actually crucial for you. Of course, I'm only showing a small excerpt here. There is the Plus Additional module, and in the Plus Additional module, you have several accounting circles. You have, for example, 3 accounting circles. If you offer 3 different products or services, you can manage them independently. Then, if you have a cash-intensive business, you might have a cash register. And there is also a corresponding module for this, so you can actually process cash transactions. Additionally, there is an upcoming e-invoicing obligation in Germany. Starting from the year 2027 or 2028, you must issue e-invoices. And currently there is an additional e-invoicing module. And brand new, you have a dative interface. This means that if you are working with a tax advisor in your self-employment, the data format your tax advisor needs from you is, in most cases, the so-called DATEV format. DATEV is the market leader for law firm software, and therefore you can assume that if you have a tax advisor, they ideally want your accounting data in the DATEV format. And you also get your data in the DATEV format so that you can then give it to the tax advisor. And they can, for example, complete the annual financial statement and the tax return for you. And to see the software in action, let's just write something together, an invoice. And for that, we go to the tile Invoices, New Invoice. What opens up is the interface with which we can write invoices. And here on the right side, we see the current status of the invoice. That means you can see my logo, my address, and so on here. And now I can select the customer on the left side, select the product. I can change the text and also decide if I want to send the whole thing as an e-invoice. And now I can fill out all these individual fields here. That means what is the name of the EasyFirma, the department, salutation, title, and so on. Or I have already created an EasyFirma down here and can simply select it with a double click. And then it adds the information it has about this customer. That is the information stored there into your respective invoice. And then in the next step, we go to the product and can describe here what exactly we are invoicing for. And now we see that I am billing the EasyFirma for 1 month of social media consulting. However, since this is a company from Austria, I need to change the VAT rate to 0% and save it once. That means it changes everything to 0%. Now, however, I still need to add a note to this invoice because it is now a reverse charge service. And for that specific purpose, I navigate to the text section where I have the ability to write here once more. This is possible because there is no VAT due to the reverse charge mechanism being applied. Charge procedure, and I also save it here once. And when I have finished writing my invoice, I can here on the top right side simply export it as a PDF or as an e-invoice and send it to the customer. And after this small insight into the software, we come to a very central question. Namely, how Steuerfit is EasyFirma actually? And as I already mentioned, there are 3 packages which we can see here, namely EasyFirma 3 Standard. EasyFirma 3 Standard costs a one-time fee, 195 as euros. EasyFirma Premium costs 295 euros. And EasyFirma Ultimate with the most features costs 395 euros. All one time without a subscription. You buy the software, you can download it, and then you work with this software for as long as you want. Whether the whole thing is cheaper than other invoicing programs depends on what you compare it with and how long you use EasyFirma. Of course, a subscription is cheaper in the first month, but you pay for this subscription every month. And if I compare EasyFirma with a cloud invoicing or accounting program that costs, for example, 25 euros per month, then I have paid 300 euros after 12 months. With EasyFirma, if I choose EasyFirma Premium, I have also paid 300 euros. But then EasyFirma belongs to me. I can use this software for as long as possible. And from the 13th month onwards, the subscription would be 25 euros per month. Accordingly, more expensive. It's simply a different concept, but I know that some of you desire this concept. What I don't want to overlook here, however, is actually these additional modules. This means that some functions are not included in the standard packages. And then you actually have to purchase these additional modules separately. For example, the Plus additional module, where you have accounting or the further billing cycles. That costs another 150 euros. And the e-invoice additional module also costs a one-time fee of 150 euros. This means if you need this function, then you have to purchase these modules separately. And that is associated with more costs, but again, not with a subscription, and otherwise you can see all the functions compared in a comparison matrix here. What I find quite nice is the new feature, the Datev interface, which is actually included in the standard premium and ultimate plans. That means it doesn't cost anything extra. And otherwise, I have linked this page for you below in the video description. Feel free to check it out. I can't go into all the individual functions now because EasyFirma is just incredibly extensive. And with that, we come to the advantages, disadvantages, and also a bit of my conclusion. A major advantage is the one-time cost. This means you actually purchase the software here and do not pay monthly recurring fees for the software. And that leads relatively quickly to the conclusion that EasyFirma is cheaper than other offers. Another point that some of you will see as an advantage is the ability to install this software locally. This means you no longer do your accounting and write your invoices in the cloud. And you no longer have to rely on the cloud provider, but you have the software on site. Theoretically, you can even disconnect the internet cable or Wi-Fi and still write your invoices. And you are then responsible for your own data protection. And I know that is important to some of you. And that's why it is definitely an advantage at this point. What is a huge advantage for me personally is the range of functions. You have software with which you can write invoices and create offers. Additionally, you get a complete inventory management system and a time tracking system, and so on. This means EasyFirma is not just an invoicing program, but a complete management software for your self-employment. And this extensive range of functions for this price is really a good value for money. It's a combination. I personally find it very impressive. And with that, we come to the points that I don't quite like about EasyFirma. And that is primarily the user interface. I find the software impressive, especially in terms of functionality. And I think the concept of still selling software today is great, but visually, it does look very, very outdated. And I can imagine that the aesthetes among you, the UX fanatics, won't be very happy with this software. Yes, we are still talking about accounting here. In case of doubt, it's not about aesthetics, but the work should also be enjoyable. And I can imagine that some of you, and honestly myself as well, would wish for EasyFirma to get a makeover in the next version. And a second point that bothers me a bit is the loading times. So that means when I switch back and forth in the menu, when I want to look at a report, the software takes a relatively long time to load. This is partly due to my computer, of course, but even on computers that are actually relatively fast, EasyFirma tends to be slower in page loading compared to other accounting programs. This doesn't have to be a huge issue, but if your accounting is a bit more extensive and you simply have to switch back and forth more often, it can become quite annoying and disrupt the workflow a bit if it takes an extra second or two for a page to load each time. And a third point I want to criticize, although I am aware that it is actually not fair to criticize, is that I would like to have reports. Specifically, more reports. None of us do accounting for fun. Sure, we write our invoices, we have our income, and so on. But at the end of the year, we need legally required formats. For example, an Anlage-EUR. We need, for instance, a summary report, a VAT advance return, and so on. There are a few reports available for that, but not all of them and not all in the legally required format. And I would at least wish that these standard reports are available in EasyFirma. I can't really blame EasyFirma for this in general, because EasyFirma never claims to actually be a complete accounting program. They describe themselves as an invoicing program, but I would at least wish, and perhaps this captures it better, this is not a criticism, but a wish for the future, that EasyFirma focuses a bit more on these reports that every company in Germany needs once a year. And if these reports could be directly generated from the software, that would be a huge advantage. You are not left alone here either. You can export all bookings, for example, to Excel. You can then sort them as needed. You can then Simply enter them into Elster online with EasyFirma, or transfer them directly to your tax advisor via the DayTV interface. That means you can already work with it. But I would wish that the legally required formats such as the IOR form are simply standardized as templates as reports in there so that I can easily export them and import them into Elster. At the moment, you would have to do some formatting in Excel or Dativ to be able to enter everything. And I would like to save myself this step in the future. And with that, we come to the conclusion. In my opinion, EasyFirma is a fundamentally solid invoicing software. Much more than that. It is more of a management software for small businesses and freelancers. And if you need software with which you can easily write your invoices, need a few evaluations, want to somehow collect your letters in one place, manage your goods, and track your time, then you can do all of this without hesitation with EasyFirma. If you are now searching for the most innovative, modern, design-driven accounting software, then you probably won't end up with EasyFirma. But if you simply need software that you can buy once and that then simply does its job, then you really can't go wrong with EasyFirma. And the reviews on the internet, especially on Google and Amazon, say exactly the same thing. This software simply does solidly what it is supposed to do. And honestly, we're talking about accounting here. That's exactly what we want from accounting software. If you have any questions about this, whether about EasyFirma or accounting or whatever, feel free to leave me a comment under this video. And if you're now thinking, this is actually the software I need, I don't need any fancy features, I just need a fundamentally solid software, then just click on the first link below in the video description and take a closer look at the software. Or just click here. And now, for example, you could watch videos on the EasyFirma channel as the next step to get to know the software a bit better. For example, this one or this one.